So Nick, hi, welcome. Thanks very much for catching up today. To start off, I mean, just most people will know who the student room are, but for the one or two people who've not come across you, could you just give us a kind of intro to what you do and how you support students, please?
Well, the student room has been around for almost 20 years now, and we're a community site for students throughout their educational journey. So students will come to us from before they even start their GCSEs, through those exams, and on to the exams and qualifications and pathways that they follow after that. And the aim of the student room is to support those students throughout that period. What we have on the site are forums, message boards where students can ask a question about any aspect of their lives. That covers all of those academic questions, but also broader student life as well. And what they're able to access there is direct conversation with other people that know exactly what they're going through. So we reach about 75% of the youth audience between 16 and 24. So there's an enormous audience there of people who can empathise with any kind of question, any kind of situation that you might come across during that period in your life, which, let's be honest, is a time of enormous change. And there's so many areas that people are seeking advice on. So on those message boards, people can post questions, they can engage in discussions, they can provide advice of their own. And what we do on top of that is to layer our own content in addition to the discussions that are happening on the message boards. So there's a lot of content that we will run that will draw from the message boards and will reflect the kind of questions that are happening on there, and will provide the audience with more detail on those questions. And often what we'll do is we'll draw in expert comment from authoritative figures in education and elsewhere, who can provide the answers that people are looking for to go with all of that peer-to-peer support.
Since the pandemic, I guess you've spotted quite a change in the sort of things that students are talking about and supporting each other with. Can you give us a flavour of the sort of things that are top of mind for students at the moment on the boards, and where kind of storytelling or support is really kind of kicking in and helping them?
Yeah, well, so we would normally see at this time of year a real requirement for support with exams, and throughout May and June just past, that is what the site is almost entirely focused on in a normal year. Clearly this year it's been a completely different story, and what we have been supporting the students with, rather than helping them to revise and helping them to focus on their exams and help them through each of those exams that they have, rather than any of that, what we've been supporting them with is understanding what's going to happen now those exams have been cancelled. And that has created a whole raft of questions around particular journeys that students are on and particular areas where they need support. There are overall examples of how students will be helped that are being published, but what we find on our forums is that people are saying, well, anyway, what about me? I'm a private candidate. I don't go to a school. I'm self-tutoring, and how are things going to work out for me? Or I was just retaking one exam, and so on. There are lots of smaller questions that aren't addressed by the mainstream media, and where we've seen our role during this lockdown period is to provide help and support for all of those students, and to help them to understand what the next steps in the process are going to be for them. The whole concept of calculated grades is one that, by its very nature, has had to be fine-tuned on the fly, as it were, and we've been very busy helping students understand what those changes are as they've come through. One of the ways that we've found particularly successful for doing that is with a project that we call TSR Answers, where we've been able to run live video feeds within the forums, and we've invited experts from various fields to come on to panel discussions and take questions direct from the forums as they're posted, and answer those directly on the site in a live video format. And that's been super useful. We've been joined by representatives from Ofqual, from Pearson, and from the ASCL, and other very knowledgeable people have come onto the site to share their information. And and we've found that's been a really successful and well-received way to get expert knowledge across to the audience.
You've innovated a lot with video for a while now, and especially getting students to create video themselves. Now, kind of the universities have obviously been putting out a lot of extra content to support the fact that students can't necessarily go on site. But where do you see kind of video, the student-produced, user-generated video, kind of filling gaps that the universities are potentially not hitting at the moment? You mentioned a lot of that kind of authenticity of communications. Where do you see this format, this media, kind of really becoming important and increasing importance over the coming months?
It really starts with, for us, the kind of content that we're looking to put out on the site, and the roots of the student room are in its community, and they are in students sharing information with each other. Any of the content that we create on the site is intended to reflect that peer-to-peer element of the student room. What we aim to do with article content when we create it is to quote discussions from the forums, to quote real students, and to really present that student view of a particular situation, or to provide student advice on a particular topic. So that's something then that is, by its very nature, authentic. It is by definition going to feel honest to the reader, because there is content there that is coming directly from someone who's on your level. And what we have done over the past few years is take the same approach with video. And there's a few approaches that we can have with our video content, but what we feel the best approach is to put students in front of the camera and to enable students to tell their own stories. So we use the StoryTagger tool to enable us to do that, in particular with some of our university partnerships, where we are working directly with university vloggers, and we're able to direct those vloggers remotely to provide them with the kind of questions that we want them to answer, and then it's over to them. And the video that we get back then is raw and it's authentic, and we're able to embed it into those articles in a way that supports the content that's already in there. So we may run a feature that is an interview with a student, and they're describing what their experience of university has been like, how they've settled in, what it was like when they first got there and they thought they wouldn't make any friends, and then they realised that, wow, actually it's fantastic. Maybe we'll run a feature around that, and then we can also run a piece of video from that very student, run it alongside the content. You've got that extra layer of authenticity and that extra layer of engagement within the feature. And that's something that we look to do wherever possible within our content.
And do you think that this sort of content in the current situation is going to become more important? I mean, obviously students are accessing a huge range of information, but do you get the sense that sort of listening to each other is has more impact, more cut through than potentially before?
Yeah, I think what people are always looking for on our site from the content that we run is honesty. And if you are hearing someone speak who is at the same level as you, they're the same age as you, they're experiencing the same kind of things as you are, then there's an inherent element of trust there. And our audience are really sharp at picking up whether they are being marketed to, or whether something is being pushed to them. And it doesn't cut much ice. If you want to reach our audience, you need to be true to them, and you need to present them with honest material and honest information. And that's certainly what we aim to do. And I think the challenge with reaching people in a time when reaching them isn't as easy as it would be, is to step away from trying to show them what you want them to see, and instead show them something that's true. And if you can do that, then I think you're presenting the audience with something that they will genuinely engage with and that they will genuinely find useful. And that's what we try to do with the content that we run on the student room. And in that way we feel like we can really stand behind our mission to support all students.
What do you typically find as the sort of challenges that you kind of bump up against with getting students to create content, and like in particular video content for you, and how have you kind of developed processes and strategies to kind of overcome those?
One of the main challenges when you're asking someone to create video for you is the level of direction that you have over it. So it's really easy now for anyone to pick up the phone and to create video. And in the past, we've asked people to just record us a video on this particular topic, and you might send over exactly what you want in an email, and ask them to send you a video back once they've done it. And where we found that difficult is that people can go off on all kinds of tangents, and what you get back might not be what you were expecting. It might be a lot longer than what you thought you were going to get, or an awful lot shorter. And it's really hard if you're not there, present with that person who's recording the video, to actually guide them towards what it is that you want from them. And that's where we've been using the StoryTagger tool, and that's where we found that so helpful, because it enables us to really specifically define how long someone should record for. And we're also able to put prompts up on their own screen while they're recording, so that we can have that level of direction. One of our most popular video projects is a partnership with the University of East Anglia, where we create video content from their vloggers about what it's like to live at university. And they're all the way over in Norwich. We're based all the way down in Brighton, and it's not particularly easy for us to be there, present in the room when they're recording that video. So instead, we're directing them from afar. And what we've found super useful is using that element of being able to use the StoryTagger tool to put prompts up for them to follow, and keeping those prompts really tight, keeping them really super directed, and giving people as much guidance as possible as to what it is that you're looking for. And what we've found is that the more guidance we give, and the more specific we are about what we're looking for from the video, the better the final product comes out. But what we're not doing is scripting anyone. They've still got the opportunity to talk naturally, just with a focus on the specific questions that we want them to consider.
As we sort of start this new academic year in this very unusual and different circumstance, how important do you think it is to capture the experiences of students, you know, and kind of reflect the kind of positive aspects of their kind of, you know, going into higher education, kind of, you know, during the pandemic, and for them being able to share that potentially with students looking to start in 2021, who I imagine will be starting to feel quite nervous about what their academic future is going to look like in 12 months' time.
I don't think we can underestimate how difficult this period is for students who have seen everything that they expected and everything that they thought they knew just thrown up in the air and ripped up. It's an immensely challenging period for anyone on an education pathway, regardless of whether they were due to take exams this year or would be taking exams in the future. And there are really difficult questions that students have that don't necessarily have answers at the moment. And so if you can put other students in and connect them in an authentic way, and then you really help those people to understand they're not the only one going through a particular situation. And that's, you can write that, but it sounds a little bit flippant. But if you show someone that, and if you show someone where here is a student speaking specifically about the situation that you're going through, and you can show them that they are dealing with that in the way they're dealing with it, that they've got this advice, or that they have found this particular thing useful. If you can really show that as a video on the site, and you can connect students in that way, that's really powerful, and it's helping in one small way to get these students through this particularly difficult time in their educational lives.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Nick.